a little bit about Dr. Patrice Motsepe. His interest in what's happening at Safa at the moment, but also his interest overall, particularly about moving forward outside of CAF after his tenure now. Is he going for a second term? A lot of people saying, hey, he must come back to South Africa and fix South African football. But I think we're looking way too far up. Because the problem with South African football at the moment is nobody can, tell us, what does life look like beyond Dr. Denis Jordan? Whether Dr. Jordan is removed now or, he's ousted because of what's happening with the Hawks, or maybe he serves his full term now, finishes, and, bows out amicably. What does the future, therefore, after that look like for South African football? We know what's going on with Ria at the moment. What does the future look like? Let's stop bringing Lucas Khatebe into it. I think Lucas Khatebe has made it plain and simple by what he's done, which is nothing, to show that he's not interested in that sort of giving back. He's not interested in that sort of influence as far as South African football is concerned. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think Lucas does a great job in the corners that he gives back, in the corners that he does his influence for South African football. He does very well in those. But as far as presidency of the association is concerned, I don't think that that's where Lucas's mind is. I think we're the ones that are forcing him there. Therefore, that forces us to say, in the leadership that we know, in business structural leadership, where do we go?
Stand up for your presidents.
No, please close the mic. 12 after the hour 6, we'll look back at Nedbank Cup results as well. Looking forward to your calls just after 1:45 on 086 000 2160. WhatsApp on 060 552 7303.
Hashtag the weekend that was.
That is the final whistle.
On Sports Night Amplified with Andile on Metro FM. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. The highly anticipated opening of early bird ticket sales for the Metro FM Music Awards is finally here.
Here we go.
Fans and music lovers alike, you can now secure your seats to witness the biggest night in South African music.
It's about to be crazy!
With a star-studded lineup, performances, and the announcement of this year's winners.
Celebrate South African artists.
Excitement is brewing as you can rush to purchase your early bird tickets before they sell out for the awards happening 27th April 2024.
Yeah, man, this is a big night.
At Mbombela Stadium in Mpumalanga.
Come on, Mbombela, come through. Let's do this.
Don't miss your chance to be a part of this unforgettable celebration of talent and music excellence.
We love ensuring that everyone gets the award that they deserve.
Metro FM, it's where you want to be. Brought to you by the Mpumalanga Provincial Government. Visit and explore Mpumalanga, the place of the rising sun. The Three Wise Men, but not always so wise. On Sports Night Amplified with Andile on Metro FM.
It's exactly 14 after the hour 6 on the Mighty Metro FM. We're about to go in the matters of the weekend, but very quickly, Davik,
Yes.
the principal, welcome. Tata Hlongwane, what do you have for us?
We have number one, Mufokeng. Mufokeng did something on the weekend.
Orlando Pirates Mufokeng.
Yes, Orlando Pirates Mufokeng, where he pushed the goalkeeper when the ball was out of play. So, Sizom Kalim.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the next one, we have TS Galaxy scored a goal. First goal by Sandro Nukovic. Yeah, we need to talk about that goal.
All right, we'll get into that and so much more. But firstly, let's begin in tennis news. Carlos Alcaraz defending his title at Indian Wells.
Defense title is never easy. I think it's even more difficult if it is a Master 1000. I'm really happy to show a really good tennis this tournament. It's a really special place for me, and really happy to be able to defend the title here in Indian Wells.
And then, of course, there is the matter of Iga Swiatek, who won the women's as well. Don't have that clip there? Okay, we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's move on now to the FA Cup. It was a big game for Manchester United taking on Liverpool. Many bettors would have put everything behind Liverpool on this one, but it was Man United that was triumphant in what many are calling the return of Fergie time. This here now from Jurgen Klopp, who says they were really, really good.
I don't know in the moment if we can play the same game again. It was a really good game. I would say, I would call this game the start, that they were really, really good. And that's these aspects we try to bring on the pitch again. But how's that? The opponent had a full week to prepare. They might do a few things differently.
I mean, it was one of those for the books. It's one of those games that you'll never, ever forget. It was a memorable game. Brilliant indeed. I watched it the day after because, I've taken celibacy against Manchester United at the moment. Ten Hag, he had something to say as well. He says games don't come any bigger.
It's some games are bigger than others, that's definitely. And I think Manchester United, Liverpool, that's always a big game. It's a special game, absolutely.
It was a very special game. But speaking of special games, there were games here in the Nedbank Cup. Let's begin perhaps with goals from Orlando Pirates. 4 of them were scored by the Buccaneers.
Bona Paris Malbogoso, Seropato Mabasa, Seropato, Ivikita Quata. And the Bluetooth device is connected. Dilo, give me the Fatuka.
Munna pure sale, Garadini, La Legenda. Munna pure sale, Uli Pope, is a like mono remunna, Muhaiwa Piella. 3 on the Pirates, not hungry Leos, Polish for Bation, if I take a Polaroid 18, in a Ponent 18, Jamba, Artabane, Careful, Ayman! Kom gele la JR. JR also speed. Form Bagani awara Mr. Mkandene. Irkekuta JR ay baklungwan shartabana polo. Yes Panshena Orlando Pirates. Sekhofatsa kamabasa.
Still keeping with the Nedbank Cup, let's hear now from Rulane Mokoena, who said something that reminded a lot of people of what Pepper said before. He says that Sundowns are the only team that loses trophies because the others win them.
Unfortunately, Sundowns is the only team that can lose trophies. The others win trophies. Sundowns loses trophies. And that's the truth. But that's the space we have to be in. And it comes with the territory of being Mamelodi Sundowns and being a big team. You lose things, you don't gain and win things.
Well, hey, man, he's done very well as Coach Random going arresting a lot of players from that Mamelodi Sundowns team, still coming out with a victory versus Maritzburg United. Gavin Hunt, though, he says that no team in the PSL is doing what they are doing. Chandre was just, Mr. Campbell was fantastic this past weekend, was an 18-year-old, wasn't he?
I mean, there's no team in South Africa who've done what we've done. They've played a lot of football. And obviously we have to make a few decisions and these stuff, so we, there's a trial and error and trial. I mean, the 2 that came on today, the one's hasn't played disky football. He plays under 18 football. He's never been on an aeroplane. So, these are things that I've got to, there's a lot involved. Never stayed in a hotel. So, don't eat that. Don't eat like do this, do that. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot to going on here.
Oh, man, I got to love coaches at the moment. I look forward to press conferences just because you've got Rulani, you've got Gavin, you've got so much as far as that is concerned. Now you've got the return of Steve Kompeller as well, so it's always going to be exciting on Mondays. But lastly, let's go to a matter that concerned me a lot. It was Makaula collapsing in the Orlando Pirates game. Here's Jose Ribeiro speaking about his collapse.
It was a shocking moment for all of us. Obviously, it's one of those situations that you sometimes, unfortunately, you have the opportunity to leave yourself close. We used to see it in TV sometimes, and today was our chance to have that feeling. I can tell you it's not nice, but thanks to the doctors and the technical assistants, I think they managed to stabilize him because there was a difficult moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got, I think he still goes by a board member out at Boxing South Africa. The man who sometimes also wears a football hat. We'll speak to him about football today. Are you still at BSA? Because I've got a matter of 1 million.
I played cricket when I was growing up, and there was a rule that before, at least, you must at least give the guy a softie. You can't give a bouncer as the opening. Now you're giving me a bouncer as an opening.
That was such a softie.
Goal, huh?
That was such a softie.
I mean, I thought you would give me
that
a
was
bit
an
of a softie to
take,
to
no,
put a
that was
6
an
on
icebreaker.
it. And there you are trying to bowl me like you give me a yorker. First ball.
It's trading up to the hour 6. Luke Lolo September is sitting with us for the next couple of minutes. We're going to be speaking all things CAF, but also we're going to bring it home a little bit. The whole of last week, we had a former NEC member that sat here and taught a lot of South Africans about what a septic tank is. Because something that is paid for what, 600 every 10 years, we hear from the experts that came onto the show. Safa pays 600,000 rands a month for it. I mean, it was one of those things that bowled us all here. But that's not the details we're going to be speaking to Lukolo September about. He wouldn't know anything about septic tanks. He's all the way in Cairo, in South Africa at the moment. Did you catch some games over the weekend?
Yeah, I actually, I watch a lot of South African football, even when I'm
from Cairo.
Everywhere, because I travel everywhere. I watch a lot of football. I watched the Nedbank Cup this past weekend. In between basketball, I was also watching the Sundowns, a little bit of the Sundowns match, and I watched Pirates play. Hungry Lion, I watched the game on Fridays. So I watch a lot of South African football whenever I can, you know.
I looked at, and the question that we asked top of the show, and is something that we've spoken about here a lot, to say, Dr. Denny Jordan, regardless of what's happening at the moment with the Hawks, let's put that aside and say, you know, he serves out his term and bids farewell to his seat as presidency at Safa. I then look at the pool of people that are available in front of us. Over the last week or so in South Africa, the name Dr. Patrice Motsepe has come up a lot, and you know and I know that. And this is something that I just like to get out there from a hierarchy point of view, from somebody who's been sitting in the seats that you're sitting in. It is a downgrade of, I don't know what proportions, to move from where he is now to come to South African football to attempt to fix that. That's something that's never going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, Andila, first of all, you have to look at what Dr. Patrice Motsepe has done at CAF. First of all, he's been in South African football. He's been at Sundowns, I think, for 20, before CAF, he was at Sundowns for 20-odd years, built a great brand, you know, demonstrated not only his vision, but also, because vision alone is not enough, but demonstrated his I can do attitude there. Went to CAF about 3 years ago and did an amazing job. I think the other question of what happens in South Africa is a different question altogether, and maybe we shouldn't get easy solutions for complex problems, you know. And I think sometimes we bypass problems and think of easy solutions. Who can we get? I mean, he's at CAF at the moment, and he's a CAF president looking after the affairs of CAF, and there is no question at the moment that Dr. Patrice Motsepe has delivered what is by far the most prosperous era in African football. And now the South Africans must look at the South African problems, the people in South Africa. Maybe not. Maybe we should talk about the younger generation. That's them. We should be debating this whole thing of what is the kind of future that we want to see, and then we lean on these people who we remain eternally grateful to. Dr. Motsepe, Dr. Koza, Dr. Mutawung, Dr. Jordan, and all this, Dr. Oliphant. Unfortunately, they're still around us. So the younger generation must grow a little bit of courage and be more focused on trying to find solutions for the future that we want. Because the current people, leaders, when they were our age group, this is the conversations that they were having. So I think we should not necessarily try and get these easy solutions of, let's get Dr. Patrice Motsepe from CAF to South Africa. No, I mean, not necessarily. That's not a practical solution anyway. There is a different solution, I think, and it's going to come from the younger generation that is more vested in the future.
I just had to get that out there because, I mean, he was trending even for that.
I saw.
And it was one of those things where, you know, when you say no, guys, but look at where he is versus what we're talking about. It's just something that needed to be cleared out there so that we can have further conversations. Joining us, Lukolo September, head of broadcasting and commercial at CAF. Congratulations. I was in Abidjan for a little bit. Got to witness. I mean, I've been a part of a World Cup. I've been a part of many AFCONs, including what we've hosted here. What we saw in Abidjan in January, February, in my books, and that of many other, was number one, the best tournament ever hosted on African soil, as far as African football is concerned.
The stats, yeah.
But more so, and the stats say so, but more so, more importantly than just, you know, the football on the field, the refereeing and the usage of VAR, the people that came in numbers, the atmosphere and the host country doing what they did. It was also successful in terms of money. Something Dr. Patrice Motsepe once again preaches all the time, and he shows it at Sundowns and he shows it where he's been. Money.
Yeah. I think, Andile, you know, I've been fortunate. I've been in football now for the last 17 years, I think. And one of the things I've seen is that it's about leadership. You know, you have the right leader in place, the place is going to be in shape. I mean, I spent some years at the PSL, and you could see with the type of leadership the PSL had and the results that were there off the field. Now come to CAF. I mean, in AFCON 2021, 7 sponsors, 20 AFCON Cote d'Ivoire, 17 sponsors, and AFCON 21, 66 TV stations. AFCON 2023, you've got 110 media rights holders, and the revenues are just crazy, out of this world. The TV audiences, AFCON 2021 were about just under 500 million, right? Right now, we are sitting in crazy numbers. We are way over 1 billion. Now, It's about leadership. It's about, for me, I'm completely convinced. And a lot of people, I mean, I read in the Guardian, the UK Guardian, they said Africa's miracle. And I got a little bit offended because I thought to myself, it's not a miracle.
Yeah.
I remember when Dr. Patrice Motsepe assembled the directors at CAF, and he asked the question to some of them who were running the key roles, Samson Adamus and others, to say, I've told people we're going to have the best AFCON ever, but what does the best mean for each and every one of you? You must go there. And, I mean, I remember reading somewhere that, when Motsepe is going to CAF, he's just going to be there for 5% time. I wish he was there 5% because we wouldn't have meetings up until early hours of the day, right? But that's the amount of detail he puts into this whole thing. And for me...
So he's a hands-on president of the association.
I wish sometimes he was not.
The association... and I asked this, Lukolo, because the association is based... Its head offices in Egypt.
Yeah.
His home is in South Africa.
Yeah.
His business travels take him all around the world.
Yes.
CAF presidency is one of the things that Dr. Patrice Motsepe does. He still runs business.
100%.
Is he hands-on? Is he there?
I sometimes ask myself, where does he get the time? Because, I'm just focusing on CAF, and sometimes my stamina just goes a little bit down. Now, Andile, I'm sure there's a book to be written by other people one day about this era, because this is probably the most exciting era for young Africans. For me, I look at the people we have in our leadership, in our directors and so on, young guys, and we are so fortunate to have a leader who's not just hands-on, who sets the tone and holds everyone accountable in that space. I mean, we sometimes, I think you've heard stories, right? We have, my family has given up on me having holidays in the last 3 years. This has been the most difficult, most challenging, yet the most fulfilling era in my working life.
Yes or no? I'm going to tell you a couple of things that we hear about Dr. Patrice Motsepe and those that work for him. Does he call you at 3 in the morning? Does he call you at 3 in the morning? Does Dr. Patrice Motsepe have an hour-long conversations at 3 in the morning?
This is my boss,
Let's get a little bit serious. The Confederation of African Football has shown its concern in respect to the image of football in South Africa due to what happened at the South African Football Association. I think it's over a week and a half ago now when the Hawks raided Safa House. There was 1.3 million rands that they're seeking documents to clarify. There's talks of money being stolen or misused. What is the interest in at what level, and what is the concern that is coming from Safa? We've seen that from CAF rather. We've seen that they have come to Safa and said, guys, you need to explain yourself here.
Yeah.
What is the official word from you guys at CAF on this matter?
I think what you must remember is that when Dr. Patrice Motsepe was campaigning, was campaigning actually to be the CAF president, he gave Africans 10 points, which was a 10-point plan. And amongst those was the question of integrity, governance, adherence to the best practices globally, and to bring integrity to football, right? And I mean, the situation of CAF asking questions at Safa is not a Safa-only situation. There have been a few federations member associations whereby there have been questions asked, and Dr. Motsepe, because rightfully so, he has literally promised the world, the corporate world. I remember when we arrived at CAF, everyone was saying, this place, we can't trust the leaders here. This place, too much negativity. This place, whatever it is. Now, what CAF has done, I mean, I think it's now common cause that CAF has written to Safa I'm not going to disclose the contents of that letter because it's between Safa and CAF, whereby CAF has asked a number of questions to Safa in relation to the media reports we've seen from South Africa, and also what we saw from statements from the Hawks. And these questions are relating to, as I said, the number of the incidents that were mentioned in the media recently. I don't think it's correct for us to talk about this because we don't want to cast aspersions on anyone or anything else. Suffice to say that it's in the interest of CAF, it's in the interest of its leader, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, that football is always seen in a certain light. And I think we are now on a good wicket, so to speak. The momentum is with us. We don't want to read about any of these things that are happening that are not necessarily good for football. And we don't want them to happen, not just read about them. We don't necessarily want them to happen.
And I respect that, but I then wonder what jurisdiction and what powers does... Yes, Safa is a member of CAF.
Yes.
But what could CAF potentially do? What jurisdiction, what powers do you hold over an associate member?
Well, you know, an associate member is a member of CAF, you know, and there's a statutes of CAF. There are regulations of CAF, and if you go to the statutes, Article 2 of the objectives of CAF, and then you go to Article 7, which will be the obligations of member associations. Now, it's clear there that CAF governs football, and amongst other things, it has to safeguard the integrity, the image of football, and Safa is a member, or Safa or any other member. There are 54 members, and CAF has a direct interest, because these members are obviously members of FIFA, as you would know, and all of us, there's a cascading order of FIFA code of conduct and regulations. There is the CAF statutes and regulations, and of course there's the member associations which are part of this. It's in the direct interest of CAF, in accordance to the regulations, for them to ask, not only to Safa, as I said. There's been several instances in the continent whereby I'm sure, it's relevant to the South Africans now because of the case in South Africa. But we ask these questions because it's in the interest of this era in football, and also it's governed by the statutes.
I ask this because CAF has never seemed to have a bite, Lukolo. You see what happened in Kenya, you see what happened in Zimbabwe. It's not CAF that got in and said, guys, this is too much of a mess, let's get it. It's always FIFA that comes in, trotting in, and in inverted commas, fixes football in those countries. I've never seen or heard of CAF taking that sort of stance. Hence I ask, yes, sure. CAF has written to Safa. CAF has said, hey, what's going on there? You know, they've gone on some sort of, trying to find what's going on mission and wait for, Safa to respond. But to what end?
Yeah, a good point you're raising. I think it's also important to know that nothing FIFA does in the African continent FIFA doesn't do anything without the knowledge and involvement of CAF. It's very clear, right? Whether you're suspending a member or you're putting normalization committee and so forth, it is with CAF. But they will play, as I said, a certain role, i.e. in sanctioning those things. The second aspect is, not so long ago, there was a letter that CAF wrote in relation to Fecafoot in Cameroon, exactly about the same thing. Not long ago, there was a letter that CAF wrote in Gabon about the same issues, and a number of other countries. And not only that, you saw the AFCON whereby when some member associations were found guilty of one issue or the other, there were serious sanctions that were imposed on them. And so it's not necessarily correct, but I understand that in the past there has always been the perception of bias or not bias. Actually, the allegation that I thought people were going to make is like, it's the country, it's Dr. Motsepe's country, so is he going to do what he's doing to other countries as well? And he's been consistent. To other countries, he wrote letters, asked difficult questions. To his own country, CAF does exactly the same thing. So maybe then people should say, okay, here's a leader. I'm not trying to say let's praise him all the time. I'm sure we must criticize him when there are things that are not necessarily correct. But there is consistency applied here. A few months ago, allegations in Fecafoot dealt with them the same way. Down the road, allegations in South Africa dealt with them the same way.
And I hear you, but Dr. Patrice Motsepe does a very good job of that balance. He walks that beam to say, I am not a South African president of CAF. I am the president of CAF, and all nations, all 54 of them under me, are all of equal scale.
Yeah.
But the aspersions of what South African football looks like are always going to be cast on him.
Correct.
That is not something we can run away from.
Not
so
true.
therefore, South African football towing the line is important to Dr. Patrice Motsepe?
I think maybe let's look at it differently and say South African football that is focused on excellence, on results, and focusing on the outcomes and actually projecting a certain image is in his interest, just as much as that happening in Zambia, in Congo, in wherever it is. But I understand that there will be special focus. I have an appreciation of that view, that because he comes from this particular country, there's a certain expectation. I do somehow think that he's probably harder. I always think to myself, even me as a South African, he's probably more harder on me at CAF than anyone else, because he's probably more harsher on me. But I understand why, He wants to make sure.
So you think he's harder at Safa?
I think, no, I'm not necessarily talking about the issue of Safa.
Okay.
Because I think with Safa, he is consistent. Well, it's not him who wrote the letter, it's the director of legal. But there's consistency. The approach to what has happened at Safa is not different to what has happened to any other country. So, in my view, it's not a matter of softer or harsher. There is consistency. And maybe people appreciate consistency rather than anything else.
I'm going to ask you quite a curveball of a question. Yeah. Is Dr. Motsepe a great leader that puts, the right people in the right places and is able to convince, because we had to in this CAF, convince the whole world that this is still one of the biggest tournaments in the world? Or is he a leader with the access to the amount of money where he can throw money at problems?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, before I worked with Dr. Motsepe, I had a different perspective of who he was, and I have a completely different appreciation now of who the person is. If you look at the board of directors at CAF, we had a board of directors meeting last week in Cairo, and I look around the table, the average age is 45.
That's a different face of African football compared to what we're used to.
8 of us. No, 7 of us, right? Plus the General Secretary, Veron Mosengo. And out of that 7, 4 of them are all below 45. 4 of those guys.
It's not the norm.
And these are the people who are being trusted to run football. And I think the oldest out of that is probably 51, 52. Now, why am I saying this? I think it's a strength of a leader to pick the best people around. Innovative young people. Before, there was always this idea that the young Africans cannot necessarily do this job. The core team that was delivering AFCON is young people, all of them below the age of 45. The people who are holding key roles. Now, I'm answering your question a bit differently in the sense that if you are able to identify the best horses to run this course, I think, in my view, I mean, it's not up to me to pass judgments on him. I don't think I'm objective enough to do that, right? We must judge people based on the promises they make and the outcomes of such promises. Purely, nothing more, nothing less.
I want to take a quick break because when we come back, I want to focus it a little bit on South Africa, simply because look all of September, from writing about football in a little newspaper, and I say little in ratio to where you are now, in ratio to where you were then, and to people that read the Daily Dispatch, it's still a big newspaper, but in comparison to what you deal with now, from the Daily Dispatch to the SABC, to FIFA, to the PSL, and now CAF. I want to speak about leadership, particularly in this country. I mean, unconfirmed reports over the weekend that I wasn't even going to touch on, but we're talking about the future, so I can. Dr. Ivan Kos, who's served this country and this football amazingly so. He's been an impeccable leader, and the direction is shown as a leader has made this country's football what it is. But he's not getting any younger. You've got Danny Jordan as well. Those are the 2 big points of leadership in this country. Let's discuss.
Podcast Friday on Sports Night Amplified with Ndile on Metro FM.
Former Orlando Pirates goalkeeper Brighton Mhlongo. At Brighton, you've got guys that study the game here, but you come with a different angle.
Yeah.
You've played the game.
It's always different to say, no, wait a minute, I know what it means with Mabalshaya top corner when I'm out to keep Amara.
Champions League, the draw has been done.
Final, Champions League, Atletico Madrid, Man City.
What?
Yes.
Man City are booting Real out. Crazy.
I hear that you're shooting something. Are you tired? What time did you wake up?
Can you switch his mic off? Bring it on, Arsenal. Bring it on. Let's go for it.
Andile, unengxaki Arsenal wena kanjani? No, it's your Man U. I mean, it's not going to beat us.
Trust me, I will come in here with an Arsenal shirt that I will buy with my own money and apologize.
6 to 7 p.m.
Seychelles have a plan to steal Malawi's joy. However, the Southern African outfit is not worried. They will reveal their strategy on the sand. It is another East versus South battle. This is the Safa Beach Soccer Championship 2023. Experience the battle on the sand between Seychelles and Malawi at the South Beach Arena in Durban. This Wednesday, 20 March 2024 at 10:30 a.m. Live on SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
It's the biggest platform for all things sport in South Africa. Every single day between 6 and 7. Sports are amplified with Andile on the Mighty Metro FM. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport, a partner of CAF in this last Africa Cup of Nations.
Yeah,
and
amazing, right?
Yeah, every single game showed it was a game changer.
I think also AFCON wasn't just great for CAF; it was great for SABC.
It really was.
I think
it really was.
There's a certain. I mean, I hope Nomsa and Kellas don't kill me when I'm about to say. I think it has brought a little bit of the client back to trusting you. Not just they didn't trust you guys before.
I mean, you can say that.
There's a certain level of affinity that has been created by AFCON for you
Let's
guys.
be honest about ourselves. I think that's the one thing. And I come on here, I come on here and I'm very honest about what we can do, who we are and who we're not.
Yeah.
And one of those things is we've had to win back not only the favor of the people. You remember when SuperSport didn't have the rights and we were to host and we're the only host in South Africa. There was a lot of backlash to say, are they going to show every game? Are they even going to be able to do it? What is the panels going to look like? What is the presenting quality going to look like? And I think, it went a long way to helping and assisting the SABC as well.
But that's the type of SABC people want. There was a period, I met this other executive the other day, and I'll go back to, I'm not running away from the points you want to raise, who I met, and they said to me, football is not commercially strong for us. And I said, man, you don't know what you're talking about. But I think the last AFCON has closed the debate.
Yeah, put your money in football.
Closed it, finished, done. Because I'm a rugby fan. But if you take the Rugby World Cup final, the audiences of the Rugby World Cup final, you've got to times it by 10 to get to the numbers that Bafana versus Nigeria. And this is not the final of the AFCON.
Yeah, this was just Bafana versus
Nigeria. It has
Nigeria.
to be times 10. Now, for me, I think there is no debate. But what has happened is there is prejudice and bias. Some of the people who make decisions have got a certain bias and preference because of the sports they watch and whatever it is. And I think the people who are also involved in football are doing a lousy job and who are passionate about football in defending the story of football, not defending the personalities of football. Because I don't think we look at it. People sometimes, I fight. The other day I was talking to the premier of my province, Mr. Mabuyane, and I said to him, I don't like this thing that you guys say, football is social cohesion. It just irritates me. Because it's livelihood. It's a commercial tool.
Do you know what the biggest problem is? The face of football. You go to any presentation, you go to anybody that talks about football, the face of football is, the guy carrying the loaf of bread, the guy eating the... Yes, that is a part of football. It is. They know those people who are football lovers to the core are no different to the guy wearing a makarapa with beer coming out of it.
But I tell people...
No different.
There's a lady from Nigeria called Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She says the danger of a single story is that it describes people as one thing and one thing only. That's what has happened. The guy who's carrying a loaf, he's a football fan.
But so is the guy sitting in the suite.
But Nomsa here, who's a group CEO, Nomsa Shaveri, who's a group CEO, is a crazy football. I'm not going to mention the club she supports. No one is perfect.
Nomsa, you pay my bills. I'm quiet. I am very quiet. Look, very quickly, I want to go into this. And this is, football conversations. We don't get to have as many as you, so when we do have you here. But these are also leadership conversations. I said a little bit earlier, and I'm yet to have him on the show, and I've been trying to speak about this very matter. But I think when Lucas Khatebe is ready to, he will come on and we'll have that conversation. Even today, as we speak, there's people throwing the name into the hat.
Yeah.
Because we've had great leaders, some great, some not, and it really doesn't matter in this conversation, but we've had leaders that we need to now, I don't want to say replace, but to grow from. Because you can never really replace a Dr. Irvin Kos.
No.
But we can grow from where he planted. we can further, move the bulletin a little bit further up. Leadership in South Africa when it comes to sport. Where are we? We've got 2 huge positions that need to be filled in the near future. We've got a country that needs direction, that needs a little bit of youth. We've seen with the AFCON now that it is youth that will drive it, because it's not the same anymore. It's not black and white, shoot a game, put it on television.
Sure.
It's a lot more.
I think, when Kaiser Motaung formed Kaiser Chiefs, I think it was in his late 20s, right? When Dr. Khoza got involved in football, he was in his early 20s, and when he became more involved in a leadership of football in his 30s. When Dr. Motsepe bought Sundowns, I think he was just 40.
40, yeah.
When Jomo Sono brought Cosmos and ran it, he was in his mid-30s, right? Still playing. Now you look at the people my age group and my generation sitting on the sideline and waiting for someone else to hand us over them these type of responsibilities or whatever it is. My view has always been this, because you're not going to jump on. I don't necessarily think everyone must come here and say indicating. The approach is, what are the problems of the future that we can see and anticipate? And what is the type of leadership that we need to solve these problems? And I think as South Africans, we know our problems right now in football, in rugby, in whatever it is. Now, we have to identify these people, the best amongst us, because we don't, the problem that is going to happen is that we're going to have a lot of average guys coming in and raising their hands. They are bold enough, they are loud enough, and they can shout slogans, and boom, they are there, and we get frustrated because it's accidental leadership, right? So I think the debate, it's up to my generation, by the way. By my generation, I'm talking about a 10-year age group back and forth that has to decide this thing. And I don't think it's fair when people expect the people who've done so much in the last 20 years and so on to be the ones who still going to think and talk about the future. I think the debate has to be amongst my guys and my peers and have this honest debate and identify the best people who are going to be suitable, not necessarily for what we want, but for the problems of today and the future.
Can somebody who comes from a business point of view, who is a lover of football, in the same way that Dr. Patrice Motsepe was in his 40s when he got into football, he was a lover of football, his father was a lover of football before him, does it need to be a football person? And by football person, I mean a person who's brought up in football to come run Safa? Or can it be a business person with a business acumen who's got a good understanding of business and football?
I think the question is, it depends, right? Because there is sometimes a false notion which I listen to. Sometimes people say, get independent people to run football. I think at the moment there is a sport, I won't mention its name, that is run by a fairly independent board, and it's been in trouble for the last 4 years, right? Nothing isn't really improved there. So that debunks that. I always think if you've got a skin in the game, you've got interest in a particular thing, your application is different in that. Now, I think for me, we have to think harder about and look at the different types of people that are there and not oversimplify and say we are looking for a business person. I don't think people must regard Dr. Motsepe as a business person, but he's owned a football club before CAF for 20 odd years. So he's been a football person forever, who just happens to be in business, and so on and so forth, right? So I think the question is, the people, look around the people that are there, and then we talk about the future based on the problems that we think exist for the future. I'm not trying to be cryptic to you.
No, I mean, I was about to say, you did a very good job of not answering me.
Anyway, I look forward to this debate in the future, but I think
the future's now, Lugodo. Yeah. The future's now with what's happening at Safa, with the situation. With the future is now.
Yeah.
Are they capable leaders in South Africa? You don't have to mention names for me. You don't have to. But right now, we have an issue in the next 2 to 3 years where we need to look elsewhere for leadership. and I completely understand. People who are as credible as what you are with the World Cup coming up, I can imagine you're going to be sitting in big seats at FIFA. Us small fries here might not be big enough for you.
No, I think the question is always. I'll answer you. Can I answer you the way I want to answer
Please do.
I think it's always important for people to have a reflection. And I do think the membership of CAF had a reflection before appointing Dr. Motsepe to bring a strategic direction, different direction. Now, I don't necessarily want to get involved in the Safa politics and the PSL and whatever and so on and so forth, but I purely looking at my own generation and what is happening, right, going forward. I think there has to be more meeting of minds, alignment of thoughts, and meeting to discuss things intentionally about where we are and what we are doing and looking outside, because you can't look internally too long because the world is moving quickly and faster and the things are changing dynamically. So we have to find these types of people, and I think they exist.
I know you've got to go, so please stand as I say this, but I look forward to 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 to 10 years from now, when somebody who's got the skills from a journalistic point of view, the skills from a broadcast point of view, the skills from an organizational point of view at FIFA level, at CAF level, the administrative skills from a PSL point of view, the media liaison skills and the communication skills from across the continent and the world to lead us. Because a good friend of mine once said, let the best among us lead. And I think that speaks volumes of you. I think one day, when you are ready, when you feel and think that it is time, I will vote every day for you.
I'm glad you're not voting. I think, Andile, on my parting shot is, the question of leadership is so serious and must be answered sober. I think football in South Africa is one of the most amazing things, owned by us, the African people. And I'm sure the current situation might give us a little bit of anxiety, but the future is bright.
I look forward to that bright future. Look forward to September, ladies and gentlemen. A leader par excellent. It's exactly 1853.
This Human Rights Month
is for everybody.
Let us stand together for equality.
As we saw our country tear itself apart in terrible conflict.
Justice and freedom. You're listening to Metro FM, where we celebrate the rights of every individual. Live from coast to coast and to the world.
Favorite station on blast?
At metrofm.co.za. Metro FM. It's where you want to be.
Look on September, he's out the building. But very quickly, Tavik, he ate your time not answering us.
Yeah, but he's a great person.
He really is. And I think in what he's saying, there's two leaders that he mentioned. And I think women have done so great on this continent. He mentioned Nomsa, who's our boss here. He mentioned Keletso, who's also the head of sport here. Yeah. And, we say there's a vacuum in leadership, but I think that's because guys are talking about other guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're looking at the men and they're looking around and saying, yeah, between us, Majita, Plomemo, maybe you and you.
Yeah.
This place, the SABC, has not been what it is now. I've been here almost 12 years. It has not been what it's been now since I've been here, at least.
Yeah.
Until there was this leadership of women.
Great leadership.
You know what I mean? So perhaps sometimes, what's that English saying about the nose? You look everywhere for something that's right under your nose.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Soccer Zone is going to be carrying a lot of what you've got. We're going to be showing it visually. We're going to be going through it, drawing lines and, being very specific. But give me one.
Let me start with the one that impressed me so much this past weekend. It's Tsidis Umkwanans. The referee was doing Pirates and Hungry Lion. He stopped the game when Makaula was down. When he went there, I could see him communicating with him. Boom! Makaula is unconscious. For one referee would have thought that Makaula, there's nothing. These days, these diseases that come from nowhere, that can spoil the game or even lead to death. So I want to congratulate Utsidiso Mkhwanazi for his great job. I don't know what instinct told him that stop the game, and he did exactly that, and the life was saved because we don't know what could have happened.
The boys from Hungry Lions, they went in at their team talk when the shield was being formed by the Orlando Pirates player. They're under no obligation, of course, to do anything, right?
Yes, and initially, it didn't look serious, but you could see the referee communicating with Makaul. And then within seconds, the pain escalated. So only the one who was close by reacted, but majority of them went to speak to their coaches because they never saw anything serious, even ourselves. But when the other players and the referee reacted, we could see that something serious is happening there.
Galaxy versus Chippa United, Stellenbosch versus Supersport United, Tugs versus Sundowns. It's a Pretoria derby, that one, and Amazulu versus Orlando Pirates. That is the draw for the quarterfinals of the Nedbank Cup. Let's take your calls and perhaps your text as well.
All right, here we go. Call Metro FM now on 0860 002160. Drop us a voice note on 060 552 7303. Waking up, turned up.
Hey Joe, Andile. Man United beating Liverpool was exactly what we needed, and especially the comeback. You understand? Just to shut these loser fools down because like I'm so happy. Although I stopped watching Man United games because I just feel like
that's fine.
My mental health comes first.
100%.
But yeah, I'm so happy. Man United, Man United.
Thank you so much. Let's take the calls. Timmy, we've got people on the line. I'm not sure, but just take one more voice note.
Hey, Brandile.
Hey, Tawan.
I'm a game between Manchester United and Liverpool. What a game. Game lebe mnandi andile beyivutha bemnandi. Amateam wonke oyi2 beka attack andile bemnandi kakhulu andile. And then with Danny Jordan, yena, he must do the right thing and resign. Ayisekwanele manje. So sikhala ngomuntu omuyi-1. Dala bayidla le mali le andile. Wonke umuntu ophuma kuSafa resign now. Okhala ngama-funds lawa uDan Jordan angawasebenzisi kahle. He must resign andile. Tumsani la kwamhlanga eMpumalanga. Bye.
Let's go to David. David is out in Goruleni. David?
Oh, thank you for taking my call. I'd like to be short. In short, I want to plead with Mr. Jordan to do what is right and just refuse himself.
But surely, David, he is owed a trial as well. He is owed his day in court, if so be it. Don't you think he's owed to face these allegations and prove them or disprove them before we even go there?
Yeah, we can say that. But you know what, Mr. Jordan is dug his own grave because, he's always entertaining squabbles. I think a good riddance if he goes. And I would like also to revisit the topic that we said, new leadership. That's the best way to do. But don't forget, there was an expatriate called Mr. Phillips who resigned twice. And Safa had some people in Safa and some people in PSL, they were opposed to him being a foreigner in that post. Same to the Norwegian who replaced him. You remember how Mafes came in.
No, 100%. I'm with you, David. But like I said, we need to be short because I need to take one more. But you make some good points there. Thank you very much. Bonkos, I think it is, yeah?
Hey,
Bonkos, clearly spam la pam guam man. It's clearly
without wasting any time, Putan. My brother in the new role, he's doing a fantastic job. So I saw him against Chippa United. I saw him against Amazulu. I saw him against Marisburg. The killer pass is my brother. Thank you, Andile.
I appreciate it. Of course, that second goal was courtesy of Bongani when he played it to Lodge, and Lodge just sank it there. So it's that defensive role, which is seeing him play a lot more games as well.
Champagne pass.
Victor, we're seeing you this evening on Soccer Zone.
Yeah, we're together, Soccer Zone.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
I appreciate it. Hey. Malcolm, do you want to switch your mic on, perhaps? How do you do that? The whole country at this point awaits to hear the voice that you are stinging us off. Thank you so much, Malcolm. Are you well?
I am very well, thank you. How are you?
Why are you blushing?
I'm not blushing.
What are you doing?
What? I'm just happy to see you. Can I not be happy to see you?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
How was your weekend?
Why you gotta make it awkward?
Is it?
Yeah, like now it's awkward.
No,
How
it's
are you gonna
never
say
awkward.
that it's like I'm blushing? The weekend was good.
Oh yeah? What'd you get up to?
Lots of fun. I got to play with giraffes. I got to
play with giraffes?
I got to play with giraffes. I did. I played with giraffes.
Okay. How do you play with giraffes?
You do. You play with giraffes. You just you feed them and you pet them. Well, if they let you, so they let me pet them, and then I hug them, and then I got to
So
play
you
with
took
giraffes.
like a little short left safari.
I took a little short left safari to play with giraffes.
Okay. Was it a romantic short left safari?
It was a safari that allowed me to go play with giraffes. That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a giraffe-filled safari.
Hmm.
Yeah. What did you get up to this weekend?
Well, I can tell you what I'm getting up to now.
You're not playing with giraffes?
A little bit of jealousy.
Oh. You jealous?
I don't think anybody goes to those sorts of holidays, with the boys. That's a very romantic getaway. Feeding giraffes is like a him and her thing.
Yeah, but then you've never really hit on me, have you?
I hit on you every day.
Yeah, but you've never made a move. You've never actually said hey, listen, I think you and I would be great. So what am I supposed to do? A girl's
So it
supposed to
was a
wait for you?
romantic
No,
weekend?
I said I got to play with giraffes. That's it. That is completely irrelevant. I said I got to play with giraffes, and you said that you were jealous. So I'm saying to you, can't be jealous because you've never actually made a move. You've never hit on me properly, besides mentioning Lionel Messi. That was the last time you hit on me. The last time you hit on me, you mentioned jersey number 10. How am I supposed to know these things? It went over above my head. Next time you must bring flowers and be like, hey, listen, I think that you and I could be a great
Do you know what
thing.
the thing about doing things like chocolate and flowers when you're courting
Mhm.
is that you then got to keep that up. If you open the door in the first date and the second date because you're trying to impress a girl, you got to do it all the time.
Not all the time. Not all the time.
So what are the rules around that?
The rules around that is do it occasionally when you feel like doing it, but then also keep it in mind because it doesn't make sense. It can't be ritual. It has to be just something that, hey, I feel like buying her a bunch of flowers today and then just do it. Or, hey, I feel like, buying her favorite chocolate today and then just do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, my lines are going to be wasted on you today, so please tell us what you
Oh,
have.
I wasn't running through your head today?
No.
Oh, gosh, that's a tough crowd.
A little tiring today, actually.
Am I tiring you
Yeah,
today? Yes, like it. Who did you meet? Okay, so this evening we've got the South African Local Government Association. They've issued a stark warning expressing concern that KwaZulu-Natal may be on the brink of escalating political violence. We're actually in conversation with SALGA chairperson in KwaZulu-Natal, Tamin Tuli, about these concerns that they've raised. And we're finding out more information about it. As you would say, that we've got different competing political parties, especially for the stronghold of South Africa, the largest, political voting space really in the country. Then we're also in conversation with the Deputy Registrar at UNISA. And I'll tell you why. University of South Africa is currently investigating thousands of students accused of plagiarism following suspected copying and cheating detected by the university's online testing systems. So we're in conversation with the university as well this evening. And then we're going to take a little bit of a gan on what's happening in court because we're going to be joined by Thabiseng Dubazana to help us unpack the latest developments on allegations that singer Kelly Khumalo ordered the hit on her late boyfriend Senzo Meyiwa. Yep. Will finally be tested in court after the Pretoria High Court ruled over the weekend that the confession by the two accused implicating her in the murder is admissible. So we'll get the latest on that. And then after 8, I'm going to call for because this is something that's growing now. We've had a conversation on it and it looks as though it's not actually dissipating. We're talking here about the safety protocols when it comes to e-hailing drivers. The safety protocols of e-hailing drivers.
Yeah,
I've
no,
seen
listen,
a couple
I'm
of
not
social media
taking
posts.
any of those anytime soon.
But you see, and it used to be the space where you used to take the safest one, right? Whether you're taking, Uber, Bolt, whatever it is, it used to be spaces where you could feel safe because the people were vetted. Remember that it used to be a whole thing that the people were vetted. It was different from the maxi taxi kind of service where you just you dial in. But now it looks as though it also going in, and you don't know who's going to show up.
Credentials are what they.
Some are saying that they're not even taking card payments, but they're taking cash payments as well. So we're going to be taking in those conversations this evening.
Well, please do call in. I think it's about time that foreign companies that do come to this country still get held up to some sort of responsibility for what they do. For myself and Tavik, let's go to television. Let's go speak a lot more football, local football in particular, a little bit of Premier League and Hollywood Bet Super League as well with Lulu as well as Slompo Kekana today. Yeah? Let's do this.
We don't play games. We We wrote the game. Metro FM. It's where you want to be. Metro FM is proud to support Human Rights Month. Join us in promoting respect, dignity, and equality for all.
What I love about human rights is that we all have them.
Together.